Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Good morning, Jim.
Or is the CL breakout agenda quite light for today?
Hello.
It's probably just me.
Sorry?
Uh,
Can you hear me okay?
yeah,
Yeah,
we
we're
can hear you
okay.
fine.
I was just wondering if the CL breakout is quite light for today. Or
I haven't looked at the agenda. Let me look at it now.
okay, let me post the link. One sec. And Barnabas, sorry, I'm hosting today because Mario doesn't have very good internet.
Yeah, sounds good.
Would you mind starting the breakout sessions?
Yeah, I mean, I can even spin it up now, and then people can just join later.
Perfect.
But I think it's a bit more problematic if the breakout rooms are already present. But yeah, I will do it once you announce it.
Oh yeah, perfect. Awesome. Thanks a lot.
So, Dan, yeah, I mean, the agenda itself is sort of light, uh,
Yeah,
but there's still value in having a CL breakout call. I'm sure we'll have stuff to discuss.
Awesome. Perfect. Yeah, I'm sure you'll find something. There's quite a few topics on the EL side which not relevant to CL devs, so it's worth it anyway.
For sure. Yep, I'll lead the CL side.
Perfect. Thanks a lot, Justin. Quite a low attendance today. Let's hope people start showing up. The bot was important after all, Ben. People need the bot.
Really was.
Good morning, Ethereum.
Hello.
Good morning. All right. Looks like we got a few people after all. Let me just quickly. Okay, good stuff. All right, let's make a start, everyone. So good morning, everybody, and welcome to ACDT number 85. It's June 29th in 2026, and I just dropped the agenda in the chat for you all. Mario created the issue, but unfortunately he has bad internet today, so I'm taking over the moderation for him. And I think we launch straight into DevNet 6 status and see how things are going there. Would someone from ETH Pandrops like to give an update there?
Yeah, so throughout the weekend, we have made some deposits in order for us to be able to do some consolidation testing. We haven't done those yet. We will probably proceed with that throughout the week. But unfortunately, Prism, the major peer that got all the deposits in, seemed to have some issues. I think the Prism team is still investigating what the specific issues were. So in the meantime, what we did is just slash those validators so we can actually test the 8045, I think, where we are excluding slash validators from the validator set, and that seemed to have worked quite well. I don't think any forking happened due to that, so that's good. And right now we seem to have recovered the network fairly well, and we decided to also deposit Nethermind. But Nethermind seems to have some issues syncing, as far as I know. Maybe also the Nethermind team can give us an update. So as of right now, I think only Prism and Bazoo is still offline, and I am actually uncertain whether it's a CL or a EL bug. But yeah, hoping to hear from Prism and Nethermind.
Yeah, for Nethermind, I've just found a bug from running the newest execution release fixtures. So I'm working on fixing that, but that could probably be what's causing the issue.
Awesome. Thanks a lot, Mark. POTUS?
On Prism, it's not really clear. I was pained by this. There were some minor bugs, but I started reviewing why they were offline today, and the first two nodes that I grabbed was one with Nethermind, and it was a bug on Nethermind, it seems. It was reported an invalid block. And then the second one was with ETHREX, and then ETHREX was dead already, requesting us to blow the DB, and someone replied that they already know what the bug is and they were already had a fix for this. I am looking still at Bezu. I'm not sure yet, but from my end, it looks like the two nodes that I grabbed, it was on the EL. It's just too much of a coincidence that Prism is causing this. It's only Prism that is offline, so it might be something that Prism does that triggers something on the EL, but I'm not sure.
All right, thanks a lot for the update, POTUS. I guess we'll see how the Nevermind bug fix reacts and keep an eye on it and see if it's triggered again. Has Aragon joined the DevNet yet? Or Wrath?
Wrath doesn't have a branch yet. And as far as I know, also Aragon doesn't have a working branch yet.
Okay.
We will probably have something later today. So yeah, that's basically.
Awesome. Thanks, Dragon. Nice one. And from Aragon?
Yeah, so we'll probably have something tomorrow.
Perfect. All right, thanks a lot. And I'm sorry, I don't have my finger on the pulse here, but is Teku on DevNet 6 yet?
Yes, they were the first ones.
Oh, Teku was the first one. Sorry. All right, thanks a lot. Perfect. Good to hear it.
On the CL side, we are missing Grandin.
Okay. Anyone from Grandin here that wants to comment?
Yeah, so I think we should be ready in coming days. Still need some fixes and some small changes.
Nice.
But yeah, likely this week.
Okay, perfect. All right then. Is there anything else someone wants to add about DevNet 6? So just in general about today's call, I think there's quite a few repricing topics to go through, which we'll handle in the EL breakout. And Justin will lead a CL breakout for those who want to head over there. Before we start the breakouts, because there's not many comments on the agenda, I just wanted to bring up 8282 and ask if there was something that we need to discuss there to move things forward. I believe Felix has made a PR to the system contract.
Yeah, I can talk about this. There are actually two things right now. So the first thing is, yes, some of the stuff I started working on this last week. So yeah, and one thing I noticed is that the EAP had a lot of assets attached to it, but we have since removed them, and I think that's good. So the change that we made now is basically that we will grind further on the contract in the sys ASM repo, and then once we feel like it's good, we can just update the EAP with the final bytecode. And I made some changes to sys ASM, so the bytecode is also always committed to the repository. So this means if you want to launch a DevNet with whatever version, you can just take the hex bytecode off of the repository and just directly copy it to the Genesis or something. So before it was always a bit weird, like the actual bytecode you had to somehow like create it yourself, or I don't know. So this is maybe the one update that I can mention. And then regarding the contract itself, so I merged the initial version to the sysasm repo, including a change that raises the fee for every request that's added. So this was something that we discussed before, also in the context of the other contracts that are very similar, like 7002 and so on, but we never implemented that change there. And I guess it's like has a bit less danger for this one, but then for the builder deposit, somehow people got a bit afraid that it would somehow jam the queue if we didn't do this. So yeah, I mean, I implemented that, and that in itself is not that complicated. I also analyzed a bit the behavior. I think what we have now is like kind of fine. And then there was a suggestion, I think from PK, that there should be we should maybe keep it more flexible in terms of the queue parameters. So at the moment, for all of these contracts, all of these contracts are the same, like 7002 consolidations, and now the builder deposits, builder exits, they are all the same design. So basically it's a queue that the users append to, and then we take out some number of requests at each block and forward it to the CL. And so the queue has these parameters, like how many it will pop off the queue for each block, and then also this other parameter, the target, which is used to readjust the fee for entering the queue. And these parameters are hard-coded in the contract. So then PK came around and he was like, yeah, can't we just pass the parameters into the contract for each block? So then we could have a fork that updates the queue parameters later. And this is the thing that I implemented. So there's an open PR on sysasm where I implemented this. It has some challenges though, because kind of the fee computation is designed to work with specific parameters. So we can't forward all of the parameters. So we would only have this like target and max forwarded for each block. But then actually, since we now kind of want to compute the fee for each user request, we would have to store the current version of the target inside of the storage of the contract. I didn't implement this, and I think it's a bit too complicated kind of, but basically there's some discussion points, and I just really want someone who is interested to look into the PR and also make some comments. I posted some some plots there of what the fee looks like. It's a bit bumpy now with this, so this maybe something that could be interesting. And then the other thing that we have to discuss is that there was a suggestion from, I think, Nico, I don't know if he's around, where the we should maybe reduce these fee parameters actually, because that has some kind of implication on the CL's builder life cycle. So if the builders are able to enter the system too quickly, then they might be incentivized to basically just keep joining and leaving, and it could expose some kind of attack. And so by reducing the rate of entry into the system by a lot, we could potentially optimize some other parameters in the CL specification. So I guess Nico should explain this part, but we should also make a decision about this, I think.
All right, thanks a lot, Felix, for the update. Sorry to leave you waiting, Tony, but is Nico in the house today?
Yeah, I can quickly add more details to that. So basically, right now we have this really large, in my opinion, target of 32 and a max of 256. And the problem with that is basically you don't get the rate limit from the contracts itself when it comes to builders DOSing the validator withdrawal sweep. So builder with that can always do a top-up deposit and then re-trigger a withdrawal. And basically it's still pretty capital intensive to do this. But they can basically block 15 out of 16 validator sweeps per block doing this. And kind of what we use right now as a rate limiter there is the withdrawal delay. By setting this really high or high enough, it becomes too expensive for a builder to do this. But if we set the target to a value like 8 and the max to 64, then the max a builder can do, even if they bring up a lot of capital, that is that they cut the validator sweep in half, basically, which is acceptable in my opinion. So because this would be the worst case, and there's really no need to have this high target and max for the builder deposits. So I think we should just set this low.
Okay, thanks, Nico. Did that answer any questions, Felix? Or...
Yeah, I personally don't have any questions about this. I just wanted to bring it up for the discussion.
Perfect. Yeah.
So now there was also this thread in the comments. I think the alternative to making the fee parameters updatable via the system call would be to just launch a new contract when we want to change the parameters. I think this is overall a good idea, but then if we want to do this, we should kind of plan for it now and have some mechanism that can disable the contract. Because in that case, we could just make it so that once we decide what the new contract is going to be at the fork boundary, we're just going to make it so that any further deposits to the old contract are impossible. So they would just revert. Yeah, well, self-destruct is kind of a bad idea because if you send value to self-destruct, I mean, first of all, self-destruct doesn't work anymore. And second, if, it's just the problem is that when calling the contract, it really just has to revert. So then it's like what we would do is we would just put in the mechanism that we already had with this like excess inhibitor or whatever it's called. Basically, there would be a check that says if the contract has been disabled, then reject the deposit and just revert the transaction. And then so this would reduce the danger of having like deposits get lost, basically. So if you want, I can just raise a PR that implements this. So then if the system call is invoked with some special input, it would set this flag. And then from that point onward, no deposits would be possible anymore. And then we could just deploy a new contract ahead of the next fork and just in the fork block, trigger the system contract one time with this input, and then it's over. And then from that point, we just start pulling the new one. Seems like a pretty good solution to me. I don't know. Like maybe it's preferable to trying to have the feed be dynamic. It is much easier to analyze the curve when the fee parameters are static. So
we've got quite a queue of people who would like to speak. Tony, is your comment linear on the discussion now? Or
yeah, I think I very much agree with Nico's point that we can lower the limit there to 64. I think that's still enough. And regarding the PR from PK, I would be supportive of that. Like, I think this is like an easier thing to do than redeploying a new contract and then getting the transition right, because you have to do two things. You have to prevent people from depositing and at the same time empty the queue, while potentially on the new fork we already have a new deposit contract. So I would even prefer we go into the contract state and change it there. I would prefer this over deploying a new contract just to keep things simpler. But it seems like PK's PR gets that done too, so I would support that one.
Okay, thanks, Tony. POTUS?
Yeah, so I don't have a strong opinion on this one, but the reason for the max being reasonable enough, or at least giving it a lower bound, is that it might be very profitable for a builder to censor the other builder's entry. And what we want to make sure is that there are enough builders at the fork. So if for some reason they can't be onboarded for whatever reason on depositing before the fork, then whomever becomes the first builder after the fork can try to prevent other builders from entering. That was a reason to have originally a large number of deposits allowed when we were going to use the same contract. So my understanding is that lowering the target makes this more expensive for them to be able to censor other builders. Now about the max, I'm uncertain what is a reasonable number. It would be good to have these numbers into account whenever you guys decide the parameters. But that was the attack. Builders trying to queue. Not only they could DOS the validator exit queue, but they could DOS the builder entry queue, and that's might be very profitable for them to do.
Thank you, POTUS. Barnabas?
Yeah, so with the alternative to bring in a new system contract at the next fork and basically disabling the old one, how would we handle the fork transition itself? Because I think that's one of our key issues right now as well, that during the fork we might have to wait for the finalization of the new deposits. Like right now we will be handling it via the validator deposit queue, and then at the fork we're gonna need to just process all those deposits basically in one slot and make sure that they can get onboarded and propose in slot 2 or whatever the slot number will be.
So I have some quick comments on this. I strongly prefer like making a new contract because like having the contract be dynamic is just kind of weird. Like I don't really. I mean, yeah, it's possible, but also kind of it kind of breaks with what we've been doing so far, and it really is a lot easier to analyze when the contract is standalone. And I don't think it's that big of a deal to like change the address. The address is going to be pretty much random anyway. We always just generate it before we deploy the contract, so it's not installed at like a fixed known address. It's just like the address will just become known once we deploy it, and then we will be able to make people deposit to the right contract for sure, I think. And then the other thing is, yeah, draining the way the process would work is we would first disable the contract, and then we would somehow have to empty the queue. So this means we would have to call into it like a bit longer, just to remove any of the remaining deposits. I understand. We could also make the new contract like read off of the old one until it's empty. Like that's another thing we could do. There are like, I think the design space is very open actually for these things, and that's like the whole reason why we are like, when we are entering this world of system contracts, we haven't really fully explored like the kinds of things we can actually do there. But it's like leaning into the possibilities of contracts basically means, yeah, we can use things such as a proxy or stuff like this, and it's totally okay.
Yeah, but it can also open up a new type of attack vector. The more complex the contract will be,
yeah, I understand.
the more risky it will be as well.
However, you just have to imagine the attack space is very limited as long as the contract doesn't call out into any other contract. Basically, the balance is going to be safe. I think that's something we should just be aware of. So it's like the worst thing then could be like we somehow miss a deposit and then it doesn't get credit, so it like gets lost. But this we can, I think, ensure with some testing. So I was also thinking, oh my God, yeah, the danger is so high. People are going to be depositing all this money into the contract. Then I kind of realized that, yeah, like I said, since the contract, there's no way to extract value from the contract at all. It's like the danger is actually not that big.
BK mentions in the chat that he's not very keen on changing a public address later fork, and announcing the address once is a bit different than changing it later.
Yeah, I understand the concern.
All right. POTUS thinks we all shouldn't spend too much time because we don't have builder churn on that contract. Tony, you've been waiting for a bit.
Yeah, I agree with PK. I would also prefer to keep it clean and to have all the EL requests always coming from the same address and not change that during a fork. So I would prefer to have it on the same address. And I think this is all theoretical stuff in case we don't like the number that we picked for Amsterdam, right? So if it turns out that in Hegota we still think like 64 is a good number, then we don't even have to discuss that anymore. And otherwise, we could just deploy a new contract in case this becomes a problem.
Anyway, I just want to say we can keep discussing this. I wanted just to bring up these topics because I really got into this like contract implementation the last few days, and I felt that we should kind of wrap this up now and just make a decision. And there are actually so many things we could do, and ultimately, it's more like a taste-based choice. I think there's no good reason to do it one way or the other.
All right, thanks, Felix. Yeah, I think that's a good point. I think essentially we've just brought up quite a few different approach or like a different approach or a different way of thinking about these system contracts, and I think it's good that we had time for this here in this call. But I think we can continue these discussions async now, unless someone wants to add something else to this discussion. Okay. All right. Thanks everyone for sharing your thoughts. I think since we're all very focused on DevNet 6, I don't think there's anything that we need to talk about for DevNet 7 on a shared basis yet. Is there anything that we would like to discuss before going to the breakouts?
I think it would be good to have an idea of what kind of change do we expect on DevNet 7, just so everybody is aware of it.
Okay, yeah, that's a fair comment.
So from the CL point of view, it looks like it's going to be 7688, the forward compatible data structures. And from the EL side, I am really not sure if there's going to be any change.
I think we will discuss in the breakout mostly, and we will, I guess, iterate on the existing EIPs depending on the discussions.
Right, but there's definitely no more EIPs to include them. It's just going to be possible changes to existing EIPs.
As far as I'm aware of, yes.
Right, I agree also. I think it's just at this point, from my understanding, there's still an open question on how to meter authorizations, and that relates to 8037, the state growth EIP, and 2780, the transfers EIP. But yeah, that's the only open issue now.
There are ongoing questions with the balls. There's 3 variations of some aspect of balls that I guess my question is that going to change for DevNet 7? Is that going to be resolved at some point? It seems to have been kind of dragging on.
Yeah, this has been resolved, and the resolution was that we keep it as is. Of course, I definitely don't have a strong opinion on that point. So if client teams still think, okay, we want to change that for DevNet 7, then I'm fine with it. But so far, the majority of clients has been saying they want to keep it as is, while other clients were advocating for those efficiency improvements from that change. So right now, the default is it will change as is. But this is for the BAL related point. There was also something about 8037, which I'm not super deeply informed about, that had also different options.
Yeah, those are the topics we'll be discussing on the breakout today. And yeah, it's mostly related to authorizations.
It would be nice if we could get a pretty much final scope for the EL changes on this week's ACDE. And I think we can aim to do the same for next week's ACDC on the CL side.
Thanks. All right, thanks, Maria. Without further ado, on to the breakouts.
Yeah, the breakout rooms should be available now.
Great, thanks a lot, Barnabas. Thanks a lot, everyone.
Bye, everyone.
Good breakout.
See you guys.